Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy, you can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. Hey fans and listeners, it's Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, registered sports dietitian and your host of the podcast. I'm here today with Dr. Jana Baatenburg. She is a board-certified family medicine physician. She graduated from Michigan State University College of Human Medicine and completed her fellowship in integrative medicine through the University of Arizona Andrew Weil Center for Integrative Medicine. She is now the owner of Concierge Medicine of West Michigan. She's a CrossFit Level 1 trainer, and in her personal life, she's an avid CrossFitter, runner, dog mom, and accomplished home cook. Jana, thank you so much for joining on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay. I'm really excited to be here.
So I want to let all our listeners know that you are our very first guest who applied on the new website, femaleathletenutritionpodcast.com. If you want to be on the show, like Jana, you just head to the website, click on the Get on the Show button, and fill out an application. She did that. What a go-getter, Jana. I'm so excited to have you as our guest, our first guest who filled out the podcast application form.
Well, I didn't know that it was such an honor. So yeah, it was easy. And yeah, I recommend anyone do it.
Absolutely. And you know what? I just want to share too for our listeners. I get so many emails of people pitching themselves to be on the podcast, but like so many of them are just not a good fit. I think that this niche of female athlete nutrition, like a lot of, I don't know, it's just like the big name nutrition people or like the doctors who wrote a book about like shedding those final 50 pounds or whatever will pitch themselves to me. And I'm like, oh, you don't even listen to the podcast. You don't understand. We've got a different approach here, a different angle. But just because it has the word nutrition, people are like, oh, I'm the owner and founder of XYZ supplement company. I would love to be on the show to talk to you about our magic pill. And I'm just like, no. So I love that, like, you're a listener, you have a story to tell, and you are a credentialed provider that has, truly, we're going to have a great conversation about both sides, your personal story and your work as a physician. And I know that you have a lot to offer our audience. So I really want to encourage people, if you have a personal story, if you have a professional background and you're a listener of this show, and you feel like you have something to offer our audience or contribute to this conversation, head to femaleathletenutritionpodcast.com, fill out the application to get on the show. And here we are with Dr. Jana Baatenburg. Let's get into your conversation, what you have to offer our audience. So just to kind of start us off, you are a family medicine physician. Why medicine? What in your life made you want to go down that path? It's certainly a hard path as far as career field goes and all the education it takes. What made you passionate about studying medicine?
It is a hard path, you're right. And so I didn't always know I wanted to go down that path because it looked so long. But I do remember something I think it was my mom said at one point was, if you get to the end of this journey, so med school, residency, getting a job, when you're there, you're going to look back and think, yeah, that was hard. But if I hadn't done it, I'd still be here at this point in my life. And I won't have completed what I was hoping to complete. So having that perspective of it's hard, but you'll get to that time anyway. And will you be happy with what you've done? I think that was really helpful. And what got me interested in medicine initially was actually that my grandpa he was a family medicine physician as well. His experience in family medicine is very different than mine, just with 50 or 60 years difference in our training age. But that was something I grew up knowing about my grandpa as a doctor, seeing him a little bit when I was younger in his office and actually being a doctor and how well respected he was, and just what a good career this was. At least that's what it looked like to me. So just having that, being exposed to that was what first made me think that maybe I could do this. So when I started college, that was the path I decided to at least start down. I decided I would be a biology major and be on a pre-med track. And as I went through college, I just continued down that path. It seemed like a good fit. I like science. I like, as much as you can like school, I guess you could say I like school. Mm-hmm. And so it seemed like the right thing to do. And I had a few, I guess you'd say, roadblocks along the way. When I graduated from college, I applied to med school and I didn't actually get in initially. So I had to find something to do instead, because I knew I still wanted to try again. I wanted to reapply. So I went for a few years and I did a master's program across the state from where I live, which was not necessarily what I wanted to do, but in retrospect, it was a good growth experience. I learned a lot, and it gave me the experience and the boost in my application. So I was able to get into med school after that. So,
right.
Yeah.
I love that shift. It's you didn't fail. It's okay. What's another option? And that alternative option, not only was it something to do in the time being, but it did provide you that growth to get ultimately where you wanted to be. I love that. Absolutely amazing. And we're going to circle back to your work as a physician, but I think what will kind of lead us up to that conversation is tapping into you on a little bit more of a personal note, mm-hmm. and some of your athletic journey and struggles that you've had personally, and then as that kind of relates to you being a physician. Mm-hmm. So let's just talk about your athletic background. You love CrossFit and running right now. Mm-hmm. Was that always part of your life? Did you do other sports growing up?
So running has been a part of my life for a long time, but CrossFit is relatively new. I've been doing it for close to 3 years now. Growing up, middle school, elementary school even, I did a lot of different sports. My parents were athletic, and they put me in soccer and softball and volleyball, and I played a lot of different middle school sports with my school. But when I got to high school, I gravitated, probably again because it was what was known to me, I gravitated to the sports that my parents actually had played in high school. So that was basketball and track. So I did basketball and track for all 4 years of high school. And I enjoyed it. I liked being on a team. I liked the camaraderie and being part of a group. But I won't say that I loved either sport. I liked them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a passion of mine.
Sure.
And so when I got to college, I briefly thought about maybe trying out for the track or basketball team, but decided against it. And I focused more on my schoolwork.
Yeah.
But with, even though I wanted to focus on school, I didn't want to give up being an athlete. So I continued running on my own and started to do quite a few road races, just local races, giving me a goal. I kind of had, it was hard to just run daily without some sort of goal. So I would do 5Ks, half marathons. We have a very big race where I grew up. That's a big 25K road race. So I did that multiple years. So just continued with the running as my main mode of sport.
That is one reason on this podcast, I'm a fan of all sports and participated in a lot. And I want to interview people of all different sports, but I do talk of running a lot because it is so accessible for people after the high school phase,
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's something that, running is generally part of almost every sport on some level. And, I guess besides swimming. And so once you're not on a competitive team, it's like, well, what am I going to do on my own? And it's so accessible for people to sign up for a 5K or join a running club and keep that aspect of sport and having a goal and doing something. So I totally understand,
yes.
That transition for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you shared with me in our email communication that you experienced REDS, relative energy deficiency in sport. Let's just ask you first, at what point in time, did this become an issue for you? Or was it after running for a certain amount of years or amping up intensity?
Yeah. So I I can't remember the exact time, but I know it was either my junior or senior year of college that I last had a period. And I don't think I necessarily had ramped up my running, but I do think I had decreased my eating. I had cut back on what I was eating. I wasn't in the dorms anymore where you go to the dining hall and no matter how hard you try, I feel like you just eat more than you maybe know or expect, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But when I was no longer in that environment and it was me cooking for myself and choosing my own foods, I did start eating less. So I think it was probably that with how much I was running that led to the reds.
Yeah. Do you, in hindsight, was it really like unintentional of just like it's hard to buy food and cook for yourself, and especially at that age? Or was there some pressures at that age and time in your life too of eating less or like mindset of less is better, anything like that?
I mean, I think there was maybe a combination, slightly unintentional, because I thought what I was doing was what I was supposed to do. And at the time, I wouldn't have said that there was a pressure to eat less, but I think looking back, there was. I think just in my mind now, I was thinking, well, if I could lose 5 to 10 pounds, I'd be healthier, I'd look better. And so I think I just decided, oh, I'll just eat a little less with each meal. I don't need quite as much food. And one thing that was always stuck in my mind, and I don't want to say anything bad about my mom. My mom's lovely, but growing up, I heard a lot about her gaining the freshman 15 and how she didn't like that and how it made her feel. And it was really hard to lose again. And so I think going into college, that was on my mind. And a goal of mine was to not gain the freshman 15. So instead, I went the opposite direction.
I so resonate with this. I think a lot of people will too, of like, it's not this super intentional, I'm going to cut my food, but it's just this constant kind of never ending talk that we hear as girls and women. And sometimes like, I know I don't need to lose 50 pounds, but like, maybe I could lose 5. Like, and it's subtle. It can be so subtle that we think it's harmless.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I personally resonate with this a lot, especially in those younger college years. But I think women of all ages really feel this pressure of just, if I could just be a little bit, if I could just be shaped a little differently. And so many of us too, we know that our words, are passed down from generations, be it about food, about body image. There's no blame because where did your mom hear that from? Her culture and society around her, her friends, maybe her parents. It takes a lot to change the narrative. But with that being said, so there was a lot, maybe there's just those subconscious pressures, the unintentional switch to cooking on your own, and that leading to just slightly less while you were still active. So you mentioned that you stopped having a period in your junior or senior year of college. What did you think about that at that time?
Yeah, at that time, I mean, I knew it wasn't right, quote unquote, right. But to be honest, it was really convenient. It was easy. And I otherwise felt fine. So there was no incentive for me to worry about it, I guess. I knew a little bit about the female athlete triad. And so I knew there was a risk for osteoporosis specifically. But other than that, I couldn't come up with any good reason for me to want to get my period back. So I just didn't think about it and didn't care.
Yeah. Yep. Once again, totally understand. And that's why I think the conversation we're going to shift into of like the importance of your period, because it's like, yeah, of course, nobody enjoys bleeding.
Yeah.
I want us to be empowered by our period and empowered by our female hormones, but like nobody enjoys it. So it makes sense that if there's no other issues, that we just kind of let it slide. And a lot of people do, but then eventually other things catch up. So I guess to kind of fast forward, at what point in your life did other things catch up, or did you feel like, oh no, this actually is a problem?
So I think what really started the change in my viewpoint was actually starting CrossFit. And it might be a little dramatic to say CrossFit changed my life, but it kind of did in a positive way.
Yeah.
When I started CrossFit, I just randomly went in. It was actually on my 34th birthday. I decided to take a CrossFit class. I had heard about CrossFit. I didn't really know what it was, but it sounded like it was hard and it was kind of intense, and that kind of fits my personality. So I decided to give it a try. And when I was there for the first days and weeks, I realized quickly that I was very weak. I was very small, and all the women around me were big and strong. And in my mind, all of a sudden I had the shift of, I don't want to be small anymore. I want to be strong.
Wow. I love that.
So it was that just the culture, the culture you're around can really impact how you view yourself, and I guess how you want to see yourself. And so putting myself in that new environment really did start that shift, not necessarily to get my period back, but to gain weight.
Yeah. And just shift your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is going back to, maybe how things your mom said. It's like, this is a cultural shift that can take time of really embracing strong and healthy over that skinny or small.
Yeah.
That was a narrative that was very strong in the 90s and early 2000s and has certainly persisted. It's getting better. And then I would say within sport, I feel like there's certain sports that, and running is one, that kind of small mindset is still very much there. And so I love, first of all, that switching your environment was a good choice for you. Trying a different sport. That is always an option for people,
yes,
no matter what. You're surrounded by people that aren't helping you. You're in a situation, whether it be your teammates, your roommates, your friend group, your coworkers, like you can get out of that somehow. It might take effort. It might be hard. It might take confidence to walk into a CrossFit gym that you know nothing about.
Absolutely.
But
I was terrified.
Yes, you were terrified, but you can do it. You can change your environment. Most of us can in most situations.
Yes.
We just need the courage to do it, and maybe a little push. So that's helpful. And then kind of the second part of this is like in those subgroups where the culture isn't good, like, I'm going to use running as the example again. Like it takes somebody to be vocal about it, to be impassioned about it, to change the narrative. And I really want to encourage like college, like captains of their teams to start talking about this. Use the words about being strong, being fueled, the narrative that weight gain is a good thing. Not even that it's indifferent, maybe even that it's a good thing for your body to change, for permission for your body to change. These are just important conversations for people to have to normalize and change that culture. But the CrossFit culture, like I'm down with you saying it changed your life. That's awesome. And it is something I've dabbled with CrossFit a little bit. I've been to a couple CrossFit gyms, but never like long term, but I'm very familiar with those style workouts. And I've, like you said, I was a member of a CrossFit gym for a little bit. And the culture there is definitely empowering on that, like strong is good. And the fueling aspect. I mean,
yes,
there's still food issues in a CrossFit environment. However, their approach to it is very much like, make sure that you eat your carbs, get your protein to recover. During workout food, I saw it in the gym. Like it was very like fuel, like definitely you can speak to it. You're part of it. But I noticed like food is there. They encourage
They
eating.
do. And it was the first time where, after I'd been going for a few weeks and months, the coach and owner a few times would ask me, how are you doing with your eating? Are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough? And never before had someone called that out and like asked me, well, have you gained weight because have you been building muscle? And that was a good thing. And like you said, it was finally a positive to gain weight, where before I had felt like, every time you step on the scale, you get a little bit of a dopamine hit when you see the scale go down. And so I think some of that actually helped. It pushed me along with the trying to be small. Is I think it was almost a competition with the scale. It's like, ooh, I lost a little bit of weight there. That's good. And it just kept going and going, and that would snowball.
Yeah. And so now you had, people around you who are encouraging, hey, did you gain weight yet? We want you to gain weight. And that just changes it, right?
It does. It was a positive, which was great.
Yeah, absolutely. So the change in environment, the change in workout style, the environment, the mindset shift of
Mm-hmm.
I want to be strong, weight gain is good.
Mm-hmm.
Did that just kind of naturally lead to your RED healing, or are there any other like struggles that you want to express that like this was a struggle
Mm-hmm.
and then like how did you overcome it?
Yeah. So I felt like I was doing really well when I started CrossFit. And like I said, I started gaining weight and that was good. And maybe 6 months into being part of CrossFit, I guess a switch flipped in my mind. And I said, I want to get my period back because I still hadn't had it. So it's been, it had been over 12 years since I'd had a period, probably. I don't know the exact date, but somewhere close to 12 years. And I decided, well, that's a goal of mine. I want to get it back. So I did intentionally start eating even more and focusing on protein. And I was reading a lot, trying to learn what I could. I think that's when I maybe even found your podcast, as I was just trying to find resources for how female athletes should eat, especially someone in my situation. And I felt like things were going well. I've gained like close to 30 pounds, but still hadn't had my period. And then I was running one day and just out of the blue, I took one step and my left foot started to hurt really bad. So I took some time off. I thought it was just kind of a tendon issue, but it wasn't going away. So I went in and I got it x-rayed and I had a fracture of my third metatarsal. And I realized at that point, I thought I had escaped all of the negative effects of REDS. But I realized, nope, it's still there. You still don't have a period, and now you have a fracture. So that was a huge turning point for me for saying, you got to take this seriously now. You really need to get healthy and get that period back, get those hormones back into the normal range.
Yeah. Okay, let me double tap on a few things
Mm-hmm.
here. First is that those bone issues of the longer you go without a period, with amenorrhea, no period, the more dangerous that is to your bone health. But it's something that you can't, it's not visible to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes so long, and it's usually not until a fracture happens that we even recognize how much our bone health has decreased. And at that point, like nobody wants it to come to that. Nobody wants it to come to a bone stress injury or a fracture and to be forced to take time off, or to then go in and get your DEXA scan and realize, oh, shoot, I have low bone mineral density. Like this has been going on for the last 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we can, as we talked about earlier, okay, sure, periods, like nobody wants to be bleeding, but you do, because when you're not, internal damage is happening, even if you don't feel it on a day-to-day basis. And that's one thing I just really want to hit home. Like, this is why we want our period, because every month that you don't have it, every year that you don't have it, some internal damage is happening, and we want to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the next thing I want to just jump ahead to is you went 12 years without a period.
So,
you do have one now.
I do.
And I just want to hit on that because that's a long time, and you were able to recover your period. So for anybody, and I've met clients before that are like, it's been 10 years, it's been 15 years. Like, is this even possible? Yes, it is. I had a client that went 20 years without a period, and similar to you, actually was a physician as well. And she's gotten her period back. I mean, she was ready to settle into menopause. And I was like, no, you're not there yet.
Yes.
You can get your period back and have a few more years of good, healthy hormones on your own.
Absolutely.
So you can do this naturally. Everybody needs to figure out their own unique situation, but it is possible no matter how long, whether it's been 6 months, 6 years, 16 years, and you're proof of that.
Yes.
One more thing. Oh, gosh, two more things I want to hit on. You did mention weight gain of 30 pounds. Weight gain is often part of healing your menstrual cycle, but not always. And then how much? It's a toss-up. It's different for everybody. It could be 5 pounds, could be 30, could be more. But thank you for sharing that number. I actually do want to thank you for that because that's must have been hard for you.
It was very hard. Yeah.
Significant. Yeah. Even though you were in the CrossFit environment, what I was thinking of was, you gained 30 pounds and you still didn't have your period yet. How did you get through that time when you were like, I'm doing something healthy for my body, and yet my body hasn't rewarded me with that period yet?
I mean, it was definitely hard. I mean, it had been a challenge to gain that 30 pounds, but like you said, I still didn't have my periods. So after I fractured my foot, I obviously had to take time off of the sort of exercise I had been doing. And I told myself, well, you obviously have to gain more. And like you said, not everyone needs to gain weight to get their period back. So yeah, it's not the same for everybody, but that's what I just knew that I needed to continue eating. And so, yeah, if you don't mind the numbers, I had to gain I actually gained an extra 10 pounds. So I was then up 40 pounds, but
Yeah.
I also, I know a lot about medicine. I know a lot, and I feel like I do know quite a bit about nutrition, but I felt like I just needed someone to help, some confirmation. Am I doing this right? Are there tweaks I need to make? So I did reach out to a sports dietitian, and I worked with her for 3 months.
Great.
And so she just really helped me figure out the fueling around my workouts. I think that was a big help. What do I eat before? What do I eat after? And then also just within the day, making sure I wasn't dipping down, just going 5 or 6 hours without eating anything. And so just having a more regular schedule of eating, that was incredibly helpful. And it was while I was working with her that I did get my period back.
Amazing. So it sounds to me too, probably wasn't just timing of, oh, I worked with her and it just so happened,
Mm-hmm.
but not only with the weight gain, but another piece of this was your nutrient timing, like
Mm-hmm.
really getting the right nutrients spaced throughout the day appropriately and around your workouts.
Yeah.
And that's, that is a huge part of REDS. It's how much are you eating? What are you eating? And when are you eating
Mm-hmm.
it? That's really, I think the when might come second to the how much,
Yeah,
and then when,
I would agree.
and then what are you eating?
Yes.
That's like the what is the last part.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, it's just, I think, again, everybody's body, we don't know how much, if at all, or how much is needed. But again, when we're in that mindset that you were in your younger years, like in college and stuff, of that subliminally always thinking like I should maybe lose 5 pounds, to then have to go through that experience of gaining 30 to 40
Mm-hmm.
be such a shift. And this is why, again, that supportive environment or somebody to help validate, the sports dietitian for you to help validate, no, you're doing the right thing. This is appropriate for your body. These are the nutrients you need, is, I think, really helpful in that process.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where you are, just a big body change is difficult on all sides of the spectrum. And no matter where you're starting from, it's just something that I think is challenging on people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I did not feel good about my body image for a while I was going through that, but I knew it wasn't forever and that it was healthy. That's what I needed to do.
Yeah. So I think another piece of this is that throughout all of this, you were studying to become and eventually became a physician.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any extra words or comments on this, but what I want to just share is that it is not uncommon for extremely intelligent and capable girls and women for this to still happen to. Sometimes we have the knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but translating it into our own personal lives or changing our behaviors is still challenging. So I shared with you, I had another client who is a physician. I've had other physicians. Actually, I would say about 50% of my clients are in the health field.
Oh, really?
Yep. Physicians, physical therapists. I've had many nurses. I have even had registered dietitians as my own clients. And that's hard. They're like, I'm a dietitian myself. I need to hire a dietitian to help me. And it's crazy because they're like, I know. So I know you know.
Yeah.
But there's something that's not clicking, or we need the validation or the accountability, and it doesn't just have to be for REDS and health stuff. I mean, it's anything in life. Sometimes we need more than just ourselves for motivation.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can know. Now, I think knowledge, maybe it's cliche, but knowledge is power. I think it is. If you don't know something, how do you know that you need to change? But at the same time, it's not enough, because just because you know it doesn't lead to the change. You need some other
Application of your knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Application of your knowledge. Yeah. Yeah. And I think we probably already hit on all the reasons that it was hard for you to apply it. It's like it wasn't affecting your day to day. You didn't know your bones were injured yet.
Mhm.
It's kind of convenient to not, yeah.
Yeah, cheap. I don't have to buy, tampons. It's nice not to have to spend that money. I mean, little things, but they do add up and make you not really interested in changing.
Mm-hmm. And then we get comfortable, right? Like maybe the first few months without a period, it was like, oh no, but then then it became your new normal.
Yeah, that's very true because I do think the first, I remember in college, I'd be like, oh, is it going to come this month? Because I my period was never regular before that.
Yeah.
And so I would skip a month or two. So it was like, oh, I skipped a month, and I skipped a second month, a third month, and it just kept going and going. And then you're right, it became the new normal and it seemed fine. So you just settle in and let life go on.
Yeah. Yeah. Even as somebody who's knowledgeable, like we get comfortable and yeah, making that change. So how is like your fractures, like are we still healing from that? Because bone healing, just like it takes a long time. It's something that, that's happening. It takes a long time for it to break down. It can also take quite a while to build back up again. And how is that working with your participation in CrossFit and running?
Yeah. So, I wish I could say that I had that fracture, I got my period back and everything's been great. However, so just going back, my foot healed well. I took a long time off of running because I wanted to just make sure everything was good before I started running and potentially put myself at risk for injuries again. So I didn't run for probably 8 months. I started running last December and things were going well. But then in February or March, I started having some groin pain, which at first I thought was a muscle strain. But as the weeks went on, it got worse and worse. And one morning, I remember I just woke up like normal. And in my mind, I said, I have a stress fracture in my hip. Oh. I just know I have a stress fracture. And so I went through the process. I saw ortho. They ordered the MRI. And yes, I had I guess technically not a stress fracture. It was a stress reaction of my left femoral neck. But in the end, it's kind of the same recovery. You have to take a long time off. I was on crutches for a few weeks and I'm still recovering from that. So I'm still not running. I'm not doing any lower body lifting, no jumping. So it's been a challenging few months going through that because I have so many things I now want to work on in the gym and get stronger, and I'm just waiting. So not that you can't do anything. I found a lot to do upper body wise. I'm staying active. I'm able to walk, which is good, but it's still not where I want to be. So even after this recovery, you could say, there still might be issues that come up because like you said, it's taken a long time to get to this point. And so the damage has been done. Thankfully, I did get a bone density scan and I was under average for my age, but I was not in the low bone density range, which I was very happy to see because after 12 years without normal hormones, I'm just happy I'm not osteoporotic.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can happen at so many different lengths for people and severity, but bones do improve.
They do.
So yeah, get that DEXA scan, know where you are. And then, maybe every 6 months or every year, as you are improving, as you are working on your health, your fitness, restoring your period, keeping your period, you can see that bone change. Again, I say it takes a while. So at the most, like every 6 months, you can redo your DEXA scan. That's what I recommend. I don't know if you have a different opinion with your background and your personal experiences, but I would do it at the most every 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably wait a year, but you could do 6 months.
Yeah.
But the bone takes a long time to remount.
Depends on your insurance. Depends on your insurance and how many.
It does depend on your insurance too. Yes.
Yeah. Which might be a nice shift now into your role. So this is, you are a physician and you're dedicated to an active lifestyle, but even still struggled with res yourself. You have recovered. You're still struggling with bone injury. You're working through that. You've, found the importance of having your period, shifting your mindset. Strength and weight gain is a good thing. So let's just, you're a family medicine physician, which is a wide range of, things that you might treat, patients you might see.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us just a little bit of background of some of the work that you've done so far as a physician, kind of like your current practice or
Mm-hmm.
types of clients? Just a brief background.
Sure. Yeah. So after a residency, I actually got a job at the same, in the same hospital system that I did my residency in. So it was nice and comfortable and easy to transition into that. So I work outpatient only. I'm not in the hospital at all, which is exactly what I wanted. I don't like hospital medicine. I like outpatient medicine. I like the hours of outpatient medicine too. So I've been in this outpatient clinic for the last 5 years. And I see, like you said, just general family medicine. So that's any age from birth to 100. I can see anyone and, treat them for basically anything. You can come in for whatever concerns you have, and I can either address it or I can get you to a person who can address it for you. So what do I see typically? A lot of just, I guess you'd say, to me, normal stuff. So there's a lot of chronic medical conditions. I see a lot of high blood pressure, a lot of diabetes, a lot of mental health. And I do quite a good amount of women's health as well. And then the more acute things, so colds and sore throats and ear infections and urinary tract infections, all those sort of things. So just a wide variety of problems, complaints, and patients.
What is that experience like where, especially dealing with some people who might have more of those chronic health concerns or lifestyle concerns that we typically lump these things into, like cardiovascular disease, like diabetes, where so often the narrative is, I've got air quotes around this, eat healthy,
Mm-hmm.
exercise more.
Mm-hmm.
What is that like for you and some patients that might need to hear some of that verbiage, but you're somebody who had to fight against that personally and eat more, eat
Mm-hmm.
less vegetables.
Yes.
What is that like? Or do you try to, like, how does that navigate the work that you do? How do you navigate that?
Mm-hmm. It is interesting. I sometimes wonder if seeing a lot of those chronic medical conditions and learning about them in training did contribute a little bit to REDS, because you do hear, all the time, lose weight, yeah, eat better, eat less. And so I think maybe some of that did, impact me, because if you're telling people that every day, it's hard not to put a little stock in it for yourself too. But now the problem is sometimes that's all you have time to say to a patient is eat less because you have 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
I don't like that, because I want to be able to spend more time talking to people about the importance of nutrition, the importance of movement, stress management, all of those factors. But in our traditional system, it's just difficult to do. You don't have the time. And so if the general you, go to your doctor and feel like they didn't listen to you or they didn't talk to you about those factors, it's not because they necessarily don't want to. It's because they just can't. They don't have the time.
That's totally fair. And I understand where you're coming from with that. So many people do get frustrated with the medical system and kind of here's a pamphlet on how to lose weight. It's like, that's not the answer. It's not going to be solved with a pamphlet.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to lose weight 10 times before. Or maybe this is the wrong person to tell it to. Like you said, it's like, no, I'm missing my period. You don't need to be telling me that. But I always say as a dietitian, I'm like, it's not you're a doctor of medicine.
Yes.
So like the best thing is to seek somebody who is going to have a nutrition approach
Mm-hmm.
or a movement approach. Maybe I need to get with a coach or a physical therapist on how to move my body more efficiently,
Mm-hmm.
how to fuel my body more efficiently. But I think as your story goes, you're like, you don't, in your own practice, you don't like that. And that's actually why things are shifting for you. And you are now opening up and the owner of a concierge medical practice. So tell us, what the heck is a concierge medical practice?
Yes, I know that's the question, right? A lot of people have not heard the term. In concierge medicine doesn't have like one definition as far as I can tell. But in general, what it is, it's an alternative model to the current system. And instead of emphasizing I guess from the larger corporation, currently likes to emphasize how many patients can you see and how many procedures can you do. What concierge medicine wants to do is emphasize the relationship between the patient and the provider, and to provide a better experience, better care to each patient. So, like I said previously, a lot of times your doctor just doesn't have time to spend talking to you about all of your concerns along with all of their concerns. So with concierge medicine, providers see fewer patients and they're able to spend more time with them. A lot of these practices will have like extended visits. You might get 60 minutes or 90 minutes with your doctor as opposed to 15 minutes or maybe 20 if you're lucky. So that's what my new practice will be able to provide: 30, 60, 90-minute appointments. You also have more access to your doctors. So the majority of these practices do have the doctor on call 24/7. So if you need something in the middle of the night on a Saturday night, you can call or text your doctor and get the care you need right then. Instead of waiting when you call the office on Monday morning, waiting 3 weeks to get in or longer, you can get in same or next day. So just a lot better experience for the patient, a better experience for the doctor too. But it's what we care more about is actually providing the care that we went to school to provide, because most doctors didn't go to school to spend 5 minutes with a patient, prescribe a med, and then spend 20 minutes on the computer after documenting everything, which is what the traditional system is set up to do. So in order to do that, though, it's very challenging to do within the current insurance-based model. So concierge medicine is a membership-based medicine. So there is a monthly fee. As opposed to us billing your insurance, you pay a cash fee out of pocket for all of those benefits in the concierge model.
And maybe as this model gets more popular, maybe things with our traditional method will change or things catch on, because I think people in the field, like you said, you didn't go to study medicine to be charting all the time. You went to help people, and then you feel that yourself, and the patient feels it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally feel that. Just a little side note, but like my son has like the smallest little cough right now, but it's like I called the doctor yesterday. Their machine says like you'll get a call back within 72 hours. It's like his cough might be done by then.
Exactly.
I hope, and if it's not, hopefully they'll help me. But it's also like, but he's, what if there was something I could have been doing in these 3 days that I didn't know because I don't have access?
Yes.
And I'm not going to go sit at this is not urgent care. It's not urgent. So I'm not going to go sit at the urgent care for a couple hours for a little cough. And it's like, I just want a relationship with somebody who's more knowledgeable about medicine and the cough than I am. Right. So sounds like what this is, which is great. And, it very much resembles, not every physical therapist or dietitian, but I'm like, it seems a little bit more like how I interact with my clients. Like they have their appointments, but they can reach out to me in between, and, shoot me a text and I'll respond. And if it's too much, we need to book an appointment for this, but sometimes it's a little question that is so easy for me to answer. Right.
Yep.
But it takes a different model and a different approach. So are these concierge style practices, are they becoming more popular? Like, where are they? You're in Michigan, right?
Yeah, I'm in Michigan. Yeah.
Are there? Are they statewide, nationwide?
They are statewide. I know a handful in my area that are doing this, and I've gotten connected with others in other states. From what I've read, I think there's more of these practices concentrated on the coast, so the East and the West Coast, but it's certainly spread throughout the nation. And I do think more and more people are going to go this route, at least in some degree. So there's concierge medicine, like I said. There's also something called direct primary care, which is similar in the sense that it's a membership model. The emphasis is a little different, but those practices are also becoming more popular. So yeah, change is there, but it's still a very small percentage of physicians.
Yeah.
But I think it has to start somewhere, and people are unhappy, patients and doctors. So I guess starting a little more grassroots and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to like how things must have been when, medicine first started, or even just like kind of more of a small town approach where it's like you've got the one doctor in town. Everybody in town sees that one doctor, right? It's a lot more personable, a lot more of a relationship. And I think just, I don't know over how many decades it's been now, but where this insurance-based model and this push for see as many clients as you can, run as many tests as you can, really took away from the relationship building, and that relationship building is so important, like we said, to tailor those conversations around food, around activity, around wellness. Like, sure, you're not a dietitian, but you have knowledge that you can share more than just handing somebody a pamphlet or saying lose weight. Like, you do have knowledge on it.
I do. And
but
I
you
do.
don't.
No, I'm sorry. And I do try to encourage, like, I want people to see a dietitian.
Oh,
I try to encourage that so much. And yeah, go find a trainer, find a physical therapist. Problems include people don't want to pay for it. Insurance coverage isn't great. So it's changing people's perspective that, some of this may cost you a little out of pocket. I realize that not everyone can afford these things. So I know that is kind of a downside. And I want to acknowledge that not everyone can do it. And that is one thing that makes me slightly uncomfortable about it. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who can. And if you can explain to them how important it is, they're more willing to invest in those things, invest in their health.
Well, and that's, again, I think why the relationship aspect of this is so important, to express the importance. And what better thing to invest in than your own health? It's something that gives you back, your life, your happiness, your years. Like, it's just, I feel like better to invest in throughout your life than in your own health.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what sort of legislative change needs to happen. It's certainly a lot bigger than me, but I think it would be great to see the healthcare model shift. There's been a nice saying going around for years now that we don't have a healthcare model, we have a sick care model. And what if we could shift that to healthcare? And I feel like that's what this concierge style medicine is trying to shift into a little bit more. I'm here to take care of your health. Spend 60 minutes with me. Let me talk to you. Reach out to me if you need anything. It can be used a lot more preventatively. And you can share so much more of the knowledge that you have after your, over a decade of training. You've got so much knowledge, and you've only got, in the traditional style, you only got 15 minutes. You can't share that with everybody. It's so hard to, and then how do you not only share the knowledge, but as we talk, knowledge itself isn't power, it's the application of it. How do you then get somebody to change? It's being more accessible as a physician. It's just so important. I feel that in my own life too. So I really hope, so you are in West Michigan?
Yes. Grand Rapids area.
All right. If you're in the Grand Rapids area, this is available to you.
Yes, please sign up.
Yeah. If you're a physician elsewhere interested in a career shift, this is something you can look into, or reach out to Jana. How did she do it? How is she starting it? How did you take that leap to shift? I think this is really exciting, and I'm just glad that this is an option. I know there's some barriers still, but it's an alternative option, and that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm excited. Yeah. We open in September, so there's still a lot of work to do before the doors open, but we're getting there.
Absolutely. Yes. So again, if you're in the Grand Rapids area, we'll share some links in the show notes. If you're like, yeah, I need that. I need something like that, or I'm interested, and opening in September. So by the time this airs, it'll be right around the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Jana, thank you for sharing your background as a physician and this new approach to medicine, and really truly your personal story. I love these personal stories of navigating your journey with nutrition as a female athlete. What are the struggles? What did you accomplish? And, those things about needing to gain weight, finding acceptance of that, having your period and healthy hormones. It's so powerful to hear true real life stories, not just of, oh, this happened to me, but that I recovered. I did get my period back after 12 years. I'm still somebody who's passionate about exercise. I know I'm taking time off, but this is still a goal and a passion of mine. I'm still doing it, and I'm finding other ways. I just think that's so powerful for people to hear. And I hope that they're inspired by you. I know that they will be inspired by you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for letting me come on. And thank you for all of the work you put into this podcast, because I'm sure it's not easy. And I've enjoyed all of your podcasts and they've all taught me a lot. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to keep it going. So thank you. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you did, if you are a true fan of female athlete nutrition, then I would love if you could support our podcast by spreading the word. Share a review on your listening channel, give us 5 stars. It really helps get the word out and get the show more views to positively impact others. Also, you can support the podcast by joining our Patreon. Head to patreon.com/femaleathletenutrition to consider a donation, or even better, join our membership where you get extra monthly content and perks. We don't want you to simply listen alone. We want you to be a part of a community and a movement of fierce, fit, and fueled female athletes. So patreon.com/femaleathletenutrition is where you can do exactly that, learn more, and join. A huge thanks to our affiliates and partners as well. Once again, Prevenix, Inside Tracker, Orgain, Practice Better, Jen and Carrie. Please go check them out, and their links in the show notes where you can get deals and discounts. Last, be sure that you do more than just listen. If you need help with fueling, it's time to take action. Head to my website to learn more. You can either book a free call with me to learn more about our coaching programs and how we can work directly with you, whether it's the fast track or otherwise. Or you can take our online self-study course, Female Athlete Nutrition. You can literally sign up and gain access right now. You can explore our downloadable products, including the Red S Recovery Guide, High Iron Fueling Guide. Or if you are a coach of a team, check out our brand new Coaches Toolkit for teams. You can also just learn more. We have a blog, a Red S quiz to see if Red S is affecting you. If you need help, I want you to get help fast. Too many girls and athletes struggle with nutrition, but you don't have to any longer. You can rise up with the power of nutrition, take action today in any of these avenues, and become fierce, fit, and fueled. Links in the show notes, and we'll see you next time.